Please stand by while we wait for other participants to join. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Buenos Aires. For us, today is October 29, 2020. My name is Leandro Passarella. I'm a tax lawyer and professor of income taxation at UTDT's Masters of Tax Law program. I'm with Professor Celina Valls. Hello, Celina.
Hello, Leandro. Hello, everyone. We are pleased. We are back to our dialogue number 10 within the UTDT Global Tax Talks. Leandro, would you please explain which is the purpose of these talks, please?
Yes. Following UTDT's mottos of academic excellence, pluralism, and equal opportunity, UTDT Global Tax Talks is a platform fostering an interdisciplinary dialogue among scholars and faculty members from all continents on a single hard tax topic. Now we are adding, as you may know already, global tax policy makers. Based on a common questionnaire, tax law professors, economists, political scientists, and tax policy makers are sharing their views on the same issues, offering the audience a comprehensive analysis. In its first edition, UTDT Global Tax Talks is covering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the international tax system. We have a roster of 13 recognized speakers. We have already conversed with scholars from almost all parts of the world. Today, we have the pleasure to speak with our last scholar, Professor Yansheng Zhu from China.
Thank you, Leandro. Yansheng Zhu is a professor at the Law School of Xiamen University and the Associate Director of the Center for International Tax Law and Comparative Taxation in the same university. His academic expertise is in tax law and commercial law, specializing in international tax law, international investment law, Chinese company law, and trust law. He has published many articles and co-authored many books within and outside China. He was a visiting scholar at Boston University Law School in 2003-04, a visiting professor at the National Taiwan University Law School from April to June in 2009, and a Fulbright scholar at Georgetown University Law Center in 2011-12. He served as a member on the subcommittee on tax treatment of services of the UN Committee of Experts on International Cooperation in Tax Matter in 2014-16. Currently, he is Vice Chairman of the Society of Fiscal Law in Fujian Province of China and a member of the Standing Council of China Society of Fiscal Law. Professor Zhu, welcome to the UTDT Global Tax Talks.
Hello, Leandro. Hello, Celina. It's good. My time is evening, so good evening and good morning and good afternoon in our the colleagues from other parts. Yeah, it's happy to have this opportunity to discuss with these topics with our. Thank you.
That's great. We are honored to have you with us, Professor Zhu, and look forward to our dialogue. For that purpose, please let me give a brief introduction of the topic that we will be discussing, okay? As we all know, almost a year ago, a minuscule life form, a coronavirus, appeared on our human world. Since then, it has silently spread using human beings and their advances in technologies as means of transportation. Nowadays, coronavirus is an uninvited guest in our lives and is everywhere, and human beings cannot see it or detect it before its unsettling presence becomes real, once it has infected human beings, jeopardizing their lives. Governments initially reacted to the virus spread, requesting us or directly requiring us to retreat to our homes, disrupting our normal lives. Borders were closed, planes were grounded. We cannot move far from our places of residence, and if we do, in many cases, we are required to comply with a preventive quarantine. We live very much as if we were characters of a science fiction book. Until an effective vaccine is designed to allow us to get back to normal, or the pandemic fades away naturally, human beings will continue to be pushed to transform our lifestyles. This transformation includes the way in which we do business. Social distancing is now the rule, and electronic commerce is widespread. Everything is delivered to our doors or screens, and this behavior will likely remain once we learn to coexist with the pandemic, as we are seeing now. If we change the way we do business, this for sure has tax implications. So far, governments have used tactics and tools already known to them to deal with this pandemic's effects on their countries' economies, and their long-term results are uncertain. In UTDT Global Tax Talks, we will discuss various issues derived from the challenges that COVID-19 poses to human beings' economic relations, and how states could deal with them effectively to continue generating revenues to provide the essential services that human beings expect to receive from them. For that purpose, Celina and I have prepared a set of questions that was sent to speakers in anticipation to our dialogues. We don't know their answers yet, and we will listen to them attentively to provide our conclusions on December 9. Our first question, Professor Zhu, if we may start, relates to PE. Lockdown has disrupted the MNE's activities. Rather, it has not disrupted the MNE's activities. Rather, they have adapted rapidly and have continued to operate remotely. During this period, their management may have been located in more than one country. At the same time, some of their activities in other countries may have been performed without the need of any local presence or any significant one. Home office has become the rule, and employees and independent contractors have got used to it and may be reluctant to go back to their offices. It may no longer be necessary to travel so often again. Also, some MNEs have decided to reduce their local presence in some jurisdictions, assuming that the international tax system continues to be based on the source versus residence distinction. Should the concept of PE be revisited and redefined? If so, how? Should these changes apply exceptionally to certain industries, or should they become the general rule? What are your thoughts, Professor? And let me share the screen.
Yeah, thank you.
For your let me see. Okay, just bear with me 1 second, I'm sorry. So, what are your views about the concept of PE, Professor Zhu?
Thank you for your question. So this question, I summarized, maybe linked to the change of the concept of the permanent establishment. This question is very popularly discussed right now. For me, I think this question can divide it in two parts. The first one, we needed to understand the regimes, very important regimes about the source versus residence, how to understand that. So next slide, this slide, please. So for me, another issues will be linked to the challenges of the digitalized mode of the business. So the first part, how to understand the source and versus residence regimes. So we now for the international investments, there's two very important states: the host states and the home states. So the investors from the home states to do business in the host states, So there's a different states jointly support the international investments. These dichotomies is also can be found in the international law. So sometimes we can find there's two kinds of this jurisdictions principle: the territorial principle and the personal principle. The personal principle, the states, normally the home states, can have this implement legal systems to these residents or these citizens, and the territorial, based on the territorial principle under the international law, the states, normally for example, the host states of the investors, the investments may take measures on the investments in its states. So these two parts, we will find these two aspects will linked to the international tax systems. So the international tax systems, we normally use these dichotomies. So the home states will enjoy the residents, will enjoy the jurisdictions based on the personal principles of the residents' jurisdiction. And the host states of these international investments are normally based on the territorial principle will enjoy the taxing rights of this territorial jurisdiction on the or source jurisdiction in the international tax system. But we can understand these two kinds of the jurisdictions will share the taxing rights on the common tax base. This common tax base is created by the international investments from the home states to the host state. Posterior taxing rights enjoyed by the home states or resident states. But this prior or posterior is just a formal sharing system of these tax rights on the common tax base. But substantially, we will find the source states will just enjoy the limited taxing rights. For example, they will enjoy the taxing right on the limited parts of the income, or they just enjoy the taxing rights at a limited tax rate. But the residual tax rights were enjoyed by the home states. So this regimes under the current international tax systems is based on this kind of this sharing system. But in practice, we will find this kind of this sharing system of the taxing rights is only from the perspective of the bilateral view. So I think I think it is only a bilateral perspective on the common tax base or on the sharing tax rights on the common tax basis. But the economic reality, this common tax base is not a bilateral, only a bilateral mode. The common tax base normally maybe the multinational multinationally scattered in the different countries, or plurilaterally or bilaterally common tax basis among the many host states. So now maybe one investors, foreign investors, doing business in the many host states through the multinational enterprises, this kind of the business entities. So the dichotomy, this methodology is kind of for me, it's kind of a path in dependence to analyze the issues or to set up these current systems. But if we look at this economic reality, we will find there's a common tax base created jointly by many host states and the home states. So right now, the key issues we needed to think about is that how to share. Do we need to just follow the limited or residual regimes of the taxing sharing system, or we share this common tax base separately? That means that each state enjoy the taxing right for their own parts separately. But current system, you will find that the source states enjoy the prior or limited taxing rights, and then the host states or the resident states will enjoy the residual taxing rights. That means that's not the separately. That means the first, you take the first, and then the residual I will take away. So this system is current system. But this current system will linked to will face the challenge from the digitalization trends, because we will find the holistic business. The second slide, please. So the holistic business versus the separate entities. Why we say that? So from the economic reality, there's a holistic business. That means one investor or the one multinational enterprises economically is a holistic business, but they use the different separate entity in the different states, or maybe use the different branches in different states. So there's a separate entities or places. So this is a reality for the multinational enterprises doing business in the different parts of the world. Under the current international tax system, the dichotomy methodology will use the two kinds of the elements to create the system. The first one is the qualitative elements. That's linked to the identification of the PE, or sometimes we call it the nexus rules. Another quantitative elements is the attribution of the profits. That means if we want to share this common tax basis, we need to take the two steps. The first step is to set up the link, and the second steps will think about how to share this common tax base quantitatively. This will link to the current supply chain. For example, the different source states will have this different productive factors. So that means the entities or places scattered in among the different source states. We call it the source states, actually the different status. Normally the physical presence, the supply chain. Under this supply chain, the many kinds of the productive factors are scattered in the different states or different countries. And this
whole supply chain will create the value, and this value will become the common tax basis for the home states of the investment and the host states of the investment. But in the future, or currently, gradually transformed this kind of a supply chain. That's the network or digital supply. So you will find that under this digital supply or network, the network involved in this value creation, you will find that the consumer or customer scattered in the different states. The investors or the business, the enterprises don't need to have this physical presence in the other states or in the states where the consumers or customers locate. So that is a digital or virtual presence. But there's an economic link is there. It's the same. But they don't need to allocate the factors, productive factors in the other countries. So this is a transform. Currently, we locate this situation from there's a gradual change from the physical economy to the virtual economy, or normally we call it the traditional economy to the digitalized economy. But this is a gradually change. So for me, there's a economic digitalized from part to all. But the key issues still remains, because in the past, under this in the past, the traditional economy, there's also the issues how to share this common tax base. But currently transformed to this digital economy, the issue is still there. So you will find we still follow this limited residual model, or we needed to use another model to share this common tax base. So if we look at the current reforms in the international tax systems, you will find the OECD model or UN model do a little change about the rules on the PE. They say, okay, we maybe technically change the PE concept to adapt to the development of digitalized economy. But that is not enough, because from the perspective of this quantitative view, you will find there's also issues how to allocate or how to attribute the profits, or how to share this profits or common tax base among the states. That's problems, that questions are still there. So for me, I think there's the change, the PE or nexus rules is not enough. We needed to think about how to change, how to find a new one to allocate the profits or share the common tax basis among the states. So that's my question. That's my answer to the question one. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much for your response to this answer. The next question is connected to this first question, and of course with your answer. So we would like to know, what do you think about the following? Is the current international tax system designed to attribute tax jurisdiction among states fairly, so that they can generate tax revenue to deal with situations like the COVID-19 pandemic effectively? Why? If this goal is not achieved with the current system, how could it be attained? Which line of policies should be followed to achieve this goal? We would like to listen to your answer to this question, Professor. Thank you.
pandemic accelerates the change of this context of the international tax system. Thus, it's just indirectly linked to the issue in question. So how to understand the fairness? Normally we say the fairness, there's the words, the sentence about give somebody what she or he deserves. So how to understand the deserves? So if we look at this current practice or proposals, there's a different understand about these issues. For the BEPS project, that they have this very famous words of sentence. They say the taxation in the place where the value created or activity happened, but this activity is produced the profits. So there's a value created in the BEPS project, maybe probably be understood as the profit production. So the value creation equivalent to a profit production or not. But this value creation, for me, this word is very vague, because if we say the value creation, or we think the value creation means the profits production. The profits production, we need to think these issues from the supply side or demand side. So the value creation, most of people maybe think the value creation will be understood from the supply side. Supply side is easy to understand this value creation because the contribution of the productive factors, for example, the capital or the labor or technology, etc. All of these productive factors will be supplied from the suppliers, not the demand side. Not the demand side, not the consumer or the consumer cannot provide the productive factors. So the value creation, if we say the taxation, the tax will be levied in the place where the value created, that means the tax will be levied in the place where the profits the place where the profits produced. So that is understand these issues from the supply side. This is a common, or this is a traditional this is a traditional idea about this share this common basis about the fairness in the international system. So if we look back to this source and the source jurisdictions or the residence jurisdictions, you will find we can easily understand these issues, because the source states, we say the source states in the traditional or current international tax system, they have a lot of these productive factors located in these source jurisdictions. For example, we have the PE. That means the source states will have some the personnel, or we have this the independent the dependent agent, or we have this office. We have some the productive machines. All of these physical elements. These physical elements actually is a productive factors. So the source states actually is a state where the product is some or some productive factors locates. And the residence normally say, oh, the residence states there's a productive factors, for example, the capital provided by from that place from the residence states. So if we use this kind of model to share the common basis, you will find this all of these understanding will based on the supply side perspective. And you will find even we talk about the issues in the digital economy, some people or some observers will also would like to use the supply side to the perspective. Even they say the demand side. For example, there's some views about the user active or passive participation. Why they say the user active or passive participation in the digital economy? They say, oh, this is a demand side because the user or customer is a demand, represents the demand side. But they actually say the user active or passive participation, they will provide the contents or provide the data. So that's equivalent to contribute the productive factors for the value creation. So that's, for me, this logic or this thought about the demand side actually equivalent to the think issue.
Professor Zhu, we have lost your last line of thought. If you could please repeat it when you were speaking about reasoning following the supply side.
Can you understand me now?
Yes, I can listen to you. Thank you. Could you please repeat it?
Okay, so for me, I think, so currently you will find most of this view from the demand side actually for me is equivalent to to sort the issue from the supply side, because the user participation, they say the user provide a lot of the contents, which is very important for the value creation. That means they contribute to the productive factors. So for that reason, this demand side equivalent to the supply side. But actually, we cannot, or for me, I think maybe we use another aspect to understand this supply side, or understand the demand side. So the next slide, please. So how about the value realization? So for me, maybe we can, it seems to me that the value generation, the whole process of a value generation have two stages. So the one stage is the value creation. From the supply side, there's the productive factors, there's the capital or labor or technology from the supply side, and this value created. But the value created does not mean the value realized. If the value realized, they needed to the complete of the sale. That means the value realization, value realized from the demand side. That means the sale have to be completed. Sale have to be completed. That means your service or your products, whether or not it's digital products or the traditional physical products, have to be accepted by customers, have to be accepted by the users. This acceptance means the complete of the sale. The user or consumer would like to pay for your products, for your value created. So this would like to pay or accept of your products means the value realization. So for me, the complete of the sale is not equivalent to the sales activity itself. Sale activity itself doesn't mean the complete of the sale. The complete of the sale will be a kind of acceptance by all of the users. So it's a value creation. This value, that value realization, the value realization and the value creation together will organized or will becomes a whole process of the value generation. So from this, if this perspective of this value realization is possible, the states where the productive factors are scattered, traditionally the resident states or source states, and the states where complete sale. So currently we normally say that a market jurisdiction should enjoy the taxing right, whether it's decentralized economy or not. But the key issues remain. If we accept the value realization, they just solve the issues about the which states have the right to share the common basis. But how to share from the quantitatively, that issues still remain. And do we still follow the limited or residual model or the other choice? That issues also still remain. It's open. The different people have the different ideas. So the second question is, if you talk about the fairness, the current practice for me or discussions is wanted to enlarge enlarge the numbers of these states that may have the right to enjoy the tax for the common tax basis, but they did not solve the issues about how to share quantitatively. These issues still remain. So this for me, this the answer to the question 2. Thank you. Sorry, I cannot hear you, Leandro. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, maybe we can continue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
we can move to we are in a position to move to our third question, and the third question is the following.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I have two follow-up questions. Sorry, before we move to the third question, which is following your line of thought of the quantitative issue, the sharing. Do you think, how could you think that the global tax system could be remade to serve the base of the global economic pyramid? Do you have some thought about this?
Yeah, this question will move to the question 3. The question is to change the current international tax system. I will answer that question.
Okay. So before doing that question, I would like to because your answer to question number 2 for me, it was kind of revealing, because as I see it, I think that what you are saying is that the tax system has to follow the behavior of the people, okay? And as personal as I see it, we are seeing more of an enjoyment, or the digital economy is bringing a lot of enjoy to the people in general. So that's why the economists or participants are trying to push to tax digital services and so forth. So perhaps this is not a question, but perhaps a comment that there is some type of cultural issue or cultural change that we are seeing, that the tax system has to follow that change or that trend, that there is a change from the production to the consumption in general, that people in general all around the world are seeing more with more interesting eyes, if I may say, the consumption of things rather than the production of those things or services. That's my comment. Do you have Any views that you would like to add, or do we move to question number 3?
Oh, you just mentioned, yeah, I agree with you. The people normally they would like to consume something, but but you will find some of the commentators will say the users will provide the data, or they will, for example, in the social network they would like to add this friends. They will give some comments, and these comments and there's location information, or there's some views will become a kind of a data or collected by the producers, and will become a kind of factors for the value creation.
Mm-hmm.
But that is actually that is the byproducts of the consumption of the users. Yeah, it's not intentionally they will contribute these productive factors.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, maybe the realization is very important, because even your product, for example, our company produced a lot of the products in the inventory, but the inventory is that means it's a profit. How transfer the inventory become a profit? You need it to be accepted by the users or by the consumers. So that is a complete of the sale, but not the sale activity itself, because sales activity itself means, oh, I have to hire the salesman to sell these products. That is also a process, as a stages, steps in the whole process of the value creation, not the value realization. The realization just from the demand side, from the user. They accept your products. That means the value realized, not created, it's realized.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I understood. Now we can move to the following question. Sorry for this detour. The question is whether this pandemic is an opportunity to shift the current international tax system, to set aside the source and residence concepts. In that case, which should the substitutes be? Why? And what is the role in all this of the digital services tax? What are your views?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So this, for me, this is linked to the change to the current international tax system. So for me, there's a question how to share this common tax basis among states, how to split. The pandemic I just mentioned. The pandemic is just it's an opportunity to accelerate the digital economy, digitalize the economy. It's not the direct reason for the digitalized economy. So digitalized economy has developed so fast. So so this issue actually is based on the another context. That means under this development of this digital economy, shall we to change the current international tax system? So for this question, you will find they have a lot of these different ideas about that. So there's an alternative 1 or 2 or 3. That's I just summarize these different ideas or proposals as three perspectives. The first one, alternative 1, is a multinational or holistic approach. So the G20 or OECD or BEPS inclusive framework, they submit the Pillar 1 blueprint. In this blueprint, you will find how to split this common tax basis. They also follow the traditional mode of this taxing rights sharing system. There's a limited and a residual mode. I summarize this as a limited or residual modes. Why we say that? Because the residual or routine profits, this represented by this the amount A and B in the Pillar 1 blueprint. They say, oh, amount A represents residual parts of the profits, a part of the residual profits amount A. And another profits so it's a routine profits. The routine profits will be allocated according to the arm's length principle. So the traditional method to allocate the routine profits. So, but this residual and the routine profits, this dichotomy or this kind of the mode is follow the traditional method. So the amount A. But how to define this amount made based on the current there's a blue pillar one. They say the residual profits will be determined use a fixed rate. This fixed rate, that means it's very clear. Oh, the residual profits means fixed part of the whole profits. So the routine profits actually become a residual profits. That's and the other than this named residual profits equivalent to amount A allocate among the jurisdictions. Another parts of this profits will be allocated among the residence states, or maybe the source states, or maybe the market jurisdiction, market states, because maybe market states also have some productive factors located there. So you will find current pillar one use the methods actually is a mixture of the apportionment and arm's length principle. The second method or alternative is a binatural or individual approach. The binatural, why we say this a binatural approach? That's a UN model. They add a new article 12B. The income from automated digitalized service, but they quietly follow this Article 12. And Article 12 is withholding at source state. Let's also follow the limited and the residual mode. This limited and the residual mode is a traditional mode, because here the source states will enjoy a taxing rights at a fixed taxing rate for the common tax basis. Except for that, all of the other part of the profits will be allocated to the residence states. So that is a fixed and limited part of this common tax basis will allocate to the source state. It's limited. And the residual parts of the whole common basis will belong to or allocate to the resident states. That is a UN model, new Article 12B. But that's a little difference. You will find the source states, if you read the Article 12B, they say the pair, the states where the pair locates will be defined as the source state, not the market jurisdiction. So from this point of view, you will find the 12B actually move the market jurisdiction out of the allocation of the common tax basis. But the pillar one, they say the market jurisdiction where no productive factors locates, just the eyeball locates, can enjoy the part of the common tax basis. So this is a two difference between these two alternatives. If there's a third kind of this the approach is a digital service tax. The digital service tax is alternative 3. That's my question, because there's a unilateral approach and the individual approach. Here I use the individual means there's case by case. This approach will focus on the different entities of multinational enterprises group. They use a customer states or user states. They enjoy the taxing rights as a qualitative aspects. That means the eyeball, the states where the eyeball locates have this rights to taxing rights, or the states where the pair locates enjoy the taxing rights for this digital service. The profits from this digital service. So how to, but there's a question, how to legitimize this DST? For example, the tax rates, why is 3% or 5%? The taxpayer, why there's such a threshold for the taxpayer? For example, there's a, if there's a turnover of the digital service is more than a threshold, there will be a taxpayer. But the media or small size taxpayer don't need to pay the digital service tax. So that's why use this kind of threshold. How to legitimize this tax rate and this threshold. Currently, you will find many states would like to introduce the digital service tax, but without physical presence, negotiation with other countries. So, so that's for me. There's issues about this common tax basis sharing. If we go back to these issues, that means the states with digital service tax will unilaterally decide its share or its part of the share of the common tax basis, so without any negotiations with another party. But I think, as I said, the common tax basis were created by many states, not only for the digital service, the states with digital service tax. So the states unilaterally decide the tax rate and taxpayer, who will be paid the tax. It's how to say, so that is why maybe it's a non-negotiable or is agreement without agreement. So that is why they sometimes will have some conflicts between the different states. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. You have mentioned transfer pricing rule within the context of Pillar 1, but now we would like to introduce a specific question about transfer pricing. So we would like to know, what do you think about the following? As you know, the pandemic affects the multinational intercompany transactions comparability. So which are the challenges and possible solutions to determine the arm's length range during this economic downturn?
Okay, thank you very much, Celina. This question is linked to the pandemic effects and the arm's length range of the prices or the profits. Currently, you will find the pandemic effects, the extent of the pandemic effects is unequal in the different place or different markets, and even the different times. For example, the pandemic effects, the negative effects is very higher, but now maybe it's a certain extent, and in the future maybe it's gradually very lower. So the different times, this extent of the pandemic effects is different, and the different industries and products. For example, maybe the traditional, some in traditional industries will be deeply affected by the pandemic. For example, the tourists or maybe the the test rounds. But for the digital products, maybe it's less affected by the pandemic. And even the scope for the small or medium-sized enterprises and the large-sized enterprises, they have the different influence by the pandemic. So that is why this is very complicated, or maybe difficult to think about how to set up this arm's length range or arm's length range of the price and or profits. Or even under this pandemic effects, there's a reallocation of the productive factors within the multinational enterprise groups. For example, maybe some parts, some area of the world is a less pandemic effects. So there may be for the enterprises, they will move these profits or maybe the supply chain to the place where the pandemic less affects. Or even the movement, the factors from the physical platform to the digital platform, because the digital platform has lessly affected by the pandemics. So all of these, the effects or negative effects of the pandemic will influence this the transfer pricing methods. For example, the cost plus methods. So the cost maybe is not like the good time, because in the good time the costs, there's a long-term costs or the short-term costs, they will play the very important role for the profits production. But in the pandemic period, this costs, maybe the long-term costs or short-term costs will play the different role for the profits production. And another issue is about this adjust the comparable profits range in good time. So normally in the good time, we use a comparable profit range to decide to support this transfer pricing method or transfer pricing policy of the multinational enterprises. But there's a range, there's a lower range, or there's a full, how to say there's different locates of this profit range. But currently, we cannot use that kind of the profit range. We say, oh, in the good time, there's a lower range. We can use that lower range as a normal range in the pandemic time. We cannot use that kind of a comparable profit range, because there's a different factors influence this profit range in the pandemic time and in the good time. So we cannot just simply use this comparable profit range. So that's a big challenge for the pricing policy. So for that reason, I think maybe the best way is follow this advanced pricing agreement between the taxpayers and the tax administration. And another issue is, I think maybe because of this different extent of the pandemic effects, so the local advantages or market premium may be considered when we adapt a proper transfer pricing policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zhu. One question regarding transfer pricing. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any views on the formulary apportionment?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
formula
any views?
Apportionment? Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
But the apportionment, yeah. But how to set up this standard about the apportionment? Because apportionment, normally you need to say, oh, there's a common profits, the different countries we will share. But which parts enjoy the which share, which part of the share? The rates, you cannot find the proper rates. yeah, that's no problem for me. I think the different countries say, okay, we agree with this kind of the rate of the share. That's no problem. But normally the different countries have the different ideas about the reasonable shares or reasonable rates of this apportionment. So that's a big challenge.
Okay, thank you. So now let's move from companies to individuals. Okay, during this pandemic, many countries have expressed their willingness to levy a wealth tax, okay, on their most wealthy individuals. Do you think that this may be a solution? Whether this may create more disparities between rich and poor countries? What are your views on this proposals?
Thank you, Leandro. This issue is a possibility of levy a wealth tax. So before we take these taxes, we needed to think about why we levy on the wealth tax. So normally you will find for me the reason of the levy wealth tax is linked to the two aspects. The first one is the tax, what to be taxed. The wealth tax is levied on the existing assets, not the income or profits acquired. It's the existing assets. The purpose of this wealth tax the wealth tax levied for the adjusting the gap between the rich and the poor. So that is not a, for me, it's not a way of the collecting the revenue. That's not the main the main purposes. The main purpose is for the adjusting the gap between the rich and the poor. So it's not a good way or method to connect the revenues, financial or public revenue, with this wealth tax. Just in many countries, we can understand. In many countries, even the people or the countries wanted to improve or stimulate the economy, they lower this inheritance tax rate, because the inheritance tax rate is equivalent to this wealth tax will levied on the existing assets, not the income or profit acquired. So for me, that means not for the value created as the existing value. So that is a reasoning of the levy of wealth tax. But if we levied this kind of taxes on the existing assets, this have a lot of the negative effects. For example, most of the taxpayers will have the intention to move the assets to a lower or no tax areas, for example, the tax havens or lower tax regimes. And if the supply chain move outside the countries, there will another negative effects. For example, they reduce the jobs. So for me, I just I'm not sure whether levy a wealth tax is a proper way to connect the revenue for the support the solution of the pandemic. Maybe have another the government needed to think about another ways to solve the pandemic issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. But now, if government were to introduce such measure like the wealth tax, how do you think that taxpayer would react in general to this kind of measure? What do you think about?
So that means the tax reform and the tax. You mean the how to react to the wealth tax? Sorry, Celina?
Yes.
I think that to all tax hikes. I mean,
yes.
To any tax.
To any tax. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So this question is very interesting. So currently, you will find that this question will link to the tax reform and the tax compliance. As I know, currently the many countries will give the taxpayers not of the tax benefits, the tax exemption or grant the lower tax rate. So if the not this add the tax. So many countries also improve the efficiency of the tax administration, or maybe lower the tax compliance costs for the taxpayer, or even prevent the tax avoidance. All of these measures will improve the efficiency of the tax administration, and they wanted to stimulate the economy, and the more taxpayers may support themselves and without a higher or heavy tax, and they can support themselves, and they provide a lot of the jobs to the people, and they product a lot of more products, or provide the more service to support the social to further the social activities. So if the government wanted to add add the more revenue, or increase the more revenue, they will look at these multinational enterprises. So that's why the many countries they wanted to introduce the digital service tax to this large company. All the governments would like to raise the tax on the consumption, not the general consumption. It's a special consumption. For example, the consumption of the digital products or the luxuries, because the consumption of the luxuries, it's equivalent to the wealth tax, but that's from they use the way of this consumption tax, not just directly the wealth tax, or the digital products consumption, because the digital products, they don't need this provider of these digital products don't need to pay the income tax share, the fair share income tax in the IBO in the states where the IBO locates, or in the payer states locates. So that is why they wanted to use this consumption tax to be a substitution for the income tax. So that's maybe possible. So if this taxpayer, I think the taxpayer will welcome this tax exemption, or give the tax benefits, not would like to increase the tax or levy more tax on them. So this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zhu. We are right into the last question of our dialogue, and it relates to our out-of-the-box thinking, whether this pandemic requires policymakers to think out of the box, to find new collaborative solutions to help the vulnerable, rather than the usual tax increases and money printing techniques. In other words, do poorer countries have a claim to receive tax revenues from richer countries to help them cope with crises like COVID-19? If that is the case, what kind of obligations could be imposed upon those countries interested in such assistance? Should there be any tax transfers from rich countries to poor countries? What are your views on this?
Oh, this is a thank you for your question, Leandro. This is an interesting question. That's for me. That's we're linked to the international assistance in the public finance. Not only that, actually, in the international perspective, this COVID-19 pandemic is a disaster. This have a lot of the selective and negative effect. And so if we look at the history, they have another disaster. Maybe a lot of the disasters happened in at this international area. So from the perspective of this the humankind in the one globe, so we needed to work together to overcome these disasters, including this pandemic of the COVID-19. But unfortunately, if we look at the current international law or international development law, there's no relevant rules directly linked to the international assistance in the public finance. So yeah, it's possible. Maybe this is a good idea about to think about this new trend of the development of the international law related to this international assistance in the public finance. But that's a new area or new trends, and maybe needed to think about a lot of the specific issues related to this new proposal or new trends. But if we look at this, the non-tax measures or non-financial measures in the international development law, we actually find some measures made by the IMF or World Bank. In which they play a very important role. They give the states in which the disasters happened a lot of the help, give them the loans and help them to overcome these disasters. Or even many countries have this development assistance project, this official development projects, also related to this financial support or technology communication, or give the specific trade treatment, or even the investment the treatment. So all of these regimes currently belong to a kind of non-tax measures in the international development law. So maybe through these non-tax measures, we could currently organize effective measures globally to overcome this COVID-19 pandemic. In the future, there's open for the discussion about this international assistance directly in the public finance area. Thank you for this question.
Thank you very much, Professor. Now, and in order to conclude our dialogue, we would like to pose a last and final question. What do you think, which role do you think that China should have in this new era? What do you think about?
About the tax area, or?
Yes, of the role of China in this new international tax system.
In China, yeah, currently the China currently is a second large economy, so they have a lot of this they have a lot of the tax agreement with other countries, and China also participates this the inclusive framework, and so currently the digital economy, how to develop this digital economy tax system. The China would like to give this own understanding about this international tax system. But for me, I just found that the government will follow or will respect the majority of these ideas organized by the BEPS inclusive framework. And China, I think they needed to use, or they needed to, based on this multinational approach, to create a fair and modern international tax system to develop this economic relations with another country. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Zhu. Yansheng, it has been a pleasure to speak with you. Your views have been very interesting and provoking in some ways. And for this, we are finishing our 10th dialogue at UTDT Global Tax Talks. As you may know, there will be 3 more dialogues in our schedule. Next Tuesday, we will have David Bradbury from the OECD. He's the head of tax policy and statistics. We will be discussing the same issues that we have been discussing so far. And afterwards, we are going to have discussions with Michael King from the IMF and Michael Leonard from the UN. Having said that, I look forward to seeing you next week on Tuesday at 1 p.m. GMT, 10 a.m. Buenos Aires time. And in the meantime, take care, wear your masks, stay healthy. Thank you, Yansheng. See you. Thank you, Celina.
Thank you, Leandro. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.